All right, listeners, we want to welcome our guest, Larry Fessenden. Oh, man, we just got done watching Jacob's Wife and absolutely loved it. I am so excited that you wanted to join us on where the scary things are. How are you, my friend? It's been a while. How's it going?
All's well. Thanks for having me back.
Oh man, I remember you killed it on the Deathly 13 trivia challenge. I think we're gonna put you through that gauntlet again on the second round here. Anyway, I brought some friends with us. I got Chris the Creature Zisi, and Omar. I don't think you met them last time, and then Muse, who is definitely excited to talk to you again. So yeah, we'll get right into it, man. Like I said, first and foremost, congratulations on the film. Loved it. Loved your role. I got to ask you, man, how was it? Just working with Barbara and you guys had such great chemistry together. How was that?
Well, it was a blast. And, I've known Barbara now for a while, of course, off and on. We did a movie called We Are Still Here together, and where we were on screen together and off camera having some fun. And then she very kindly joined us, me and my partner, Glenn McQuaid, in our Tales from Beyond the Pale, a couple of radio shows. So that was actually almost live theater. We present those audio dramas at film festivals. So we did a couple of those with Barbara, and then she very kindly reunited with Stuart Gordon for one of our Tales from Beyond the Pale. So for the fans out there, do go to our website, talesfrombeyondthepale.com, and check out some of those awesome radio programs. Anyway, Barbara got in touch with me about Jacob's Wife. She sent me the script a long time ago and said, would I be interested in the character of Jacob? And I immediately enjoyed the setting and the vibe. And then nothing really came of it. So it was a couple years, and I think she was developing it. And I assumed that, it became contingent to get financing to get an actor of more note than myself. But very sweetly, they came back to me and invited me aboard. And I said, of course, because I love Barbara. I also knew Travis Stevens as a producer. And what a nice group of people.
I got to ask you, you play an interesting character. You're a pastor and a reverend pastor, and your role was, I think, a little bit different than kind of what we've seen you do and stuff and directing and whatnot. But how did you prepare for something like that? Because it was really believable. Like you're something like really strict, like don't take the Lord's name in vain and all this stuff. And how did you get yourself into that mindset where you had to be this really straight edge at points? Because you get a little hardcore towards the end, especially at the very end. But how did you get into character? Did you do a lot of research on that, or what?
Well, I have a sort of a ragtag reputation because I look like a homeless person, but I do believe in discipline and deep thoughts and philosophy and stuff. So I was able to imagine that character. And, when I clean up, shave, and put on the tooth and do the hair, I look like my cousin. So, I come from a straight laced waspy family, so I can uh, put those airs on. And the more deep research was I did read the fucking Bible, which I got to say is a true horror comedy. I don't know what's going on in there, but it's pretty interesting. And you see, the patriarch in full tooth and nail. Love your wife as you would love yourself, but they're objectifying of women. I mean, slavery is fine. It's a really crazy document. So I didn't get De Niro deep, but I did read it, and the sermons that I was doing, it's funny, I memorized them and I would preach them, in my room, and I'd get quite into it. And then on the day they had the text, I didn't even have to bother to memorize it. But it was really fun to get into that mindset. And I've said this before, it's funny doing interviews, you end up sounding like an old man who repeats himself, but maybe no one else has heard me talk on this. The thing is I run a small film company, and I do play the mentor. So meaning I teach filmmakers, my opinions at least about filmmaking, and go on, kid, go out there, make your picture. So I sort of understand the idea of being a patriarch or running a flock of people. So all those things you bring to the table and see how to get a character going. And then, of course, with Barbara, it was just fun to be a stuffy, silly old man with her. And just always, my favorite scenes are when she starts talking and I talk over her. I mean, it's fun as an actor because you're dealing with timing. And it just seems so funny and such a comment. Nowadays, everybody's so terrified of being a pompous old white guy. So it was fun to lean into that.
Well, listen, I mean, I can ask a few more questions, but I don't want to take up too much time. So I'm going to pass it on over to Muse. I know she's got some great questions for you. And plus, I always ask her questions. I'm tired of getting yelled at, so I'm trying to turn over a new leaf. So Muse, go ahead and take it away. Thanks, Larry.
Yeah, man.
All right. Hey, Larry, how's it going?
Good news. What's happening? You're just a picture tonight.
Yeah. I'm hiding out.
Are you in your jammies?
Yeah, I'm always in my jammies. I just literally do not wear pants anymore since the pandemic.
Oh, I don't have any pants.
Like no
Were we
pants.
supposed to wear pants? I'm sorry.
I know. I'm like, I'm not a big pants person, so this works perfectly for me. Oh, but way too much information probably for everybody there, but that's what we're all about here. So yeah, I just want to jump right into the questions. And what was I have to ask, because I can imagine there were so many fun scenes. Were there any scenes that stood out in particular that were just maybe the most fun to film, or maybe some just some scenes that stood out where you're like, oh, this scene right here is probably one of my favorites?
Well, that's a fun question. I mean, it is true that I liked the early scenes where I'm being a total dick. That was funny. And like the breakfast scene where I'm eating bacon. First of all, I'm a vegetarian. So whenever I'm in a movie and I have to eat bacon, I'm always so excited. And I'm like, oh, no, that's fine. That's not a problem. You want to do another take? Because as they say, bacon is the gateway drug to meat eating.
Right.
Anyway, so those scenes are funny. I just like the commentary in the couple's relationship. But then, we had some crazy laughs when Barbara's drinking the blood off the floor of the kitchen, and I come in and I go, what is going on here? And, I have this fake tooth that I wear for the character, and we laugh so hard. I just spat it across the room into the blood puddle. But, every scene has what scene was my favorite is, and it's actually cut down, but when we come out of the house with the corpse and the little black kid stops us, and she was a funny little actress, very, very Broadway, if I could say, very like, what are you doing? And the scene is like twice as long, and it was really kind of Abbott and Costello comedy, and we just had I had a lot of fun with that. But it was all good. Driving that car was so cool, and I once they told me to hurry and get out of the car and run up to the house. And so I forgot to put it in park, and I jumped out of the car, and the car went into the house next door. So, I mean, all kinds of stuff happens, even on a very simple movie like this.
Muse, I want to just jump in real quick because he mentioned something of putting his tooth in and all that. And I just didn't want to forget. So I had to ask a question for a really good friend of mine, Erica Goldberg. There was scenes where you like really close up scenes as you're brushing your teeth and you're eating, like really close up. It's really weird. How did you do that with a fake tooth?
Oh, good Lord. You can do plenty with a fake tooth, but it sticks in and you forget about it. Yeah, I mean, how can you talk with a fake tooth? I have to do all those lines. Anyway, it's all. Oh, I thought it was here. Yeah, all that brushing the teeth. I mean, I got to do a shower scene. It's all very humiliating being such a gross person in the movie, but you got to let the vanity go. Well, yeah, we have a sex scene, my big fat ass. It's all terribly tragic, really. But you got to lean into being old, and you can't have any intimidations as an actor. You're playing the character. It's not about you anymore, and that's important in all the scenes, whether it's emotional or you know, you look, I mean, those costumes, I look so fat, the whole thing. What can I tell you?
Well, you guys were fantastic. I know that love scene with you and Barbara Crampton. I'm like, whoa, they're getting at it. I'm like, I did not see that coming because their marriage is so different in the beginning. I loved how they came together at part of it. Anyway,
Yeah, it's real
I don't want to
sweet.
ruin too much. I definitely didn't ruin the end there. But I definitely loved, you know, how the dynamic evolved, I guess you could say. And it was really, really cool to see that. Your guys' chemistry, again, you know, like Ken said, was fantastic. Were there any scenes that you maybe had to leave out for whatever reason that you wish you could have kept in the movie?
No, I think Travis was very thoughtful in his editing. I can't remember if any whole scene was cut. You know, there's always trims. That's, you got to keep your movie moving along, and you learn stuff in the edit that you didn't know on set, and I always appreciate that, as I am a filmmaker. And you know, it's funny, as an actor, it's hard to watch the movie because you're still thinking about your performance, but then when you finally see it, maybe a second time or whatever it is, you can just let go of things that you wish were in there and so on. It's a good thing to say that I can't really recall anything I regret is on the cutting room floor. It's all pretty much there.
Well, I'll tell you what, it was fantastic. And I, you know, like I said, I'm always like hungry for director's cuts and things like that, and behind the scenes. I love the movie. I have to ask this because I'm a huge wrestling fan, and I'm surprised Ken didn't grab this one. How did CM Punk end up getting in the film? I have to ask that.
I thought it was him, and
I saw this in the cast.
forgot
I
to
was
go back
looking
and
for him,
look.
and I'm like, "Where's he at?" And sure enough, he shows up. I'm not going to say where because you guys are going to have to check that out for to see where he's at, along with everybody else. I saw a lot of familiar faces in this one, and Bonnie Aarons was fantastic. Oh my goodness, so great. But yeah, I mean, how did you come about CM Punk sliding into this film? He just kind of slides in there, you know.
Oh yeah, what a treat for fans. The reality is he's in Travis's previous film. He's a friend of Travis, the director, Travis Stevens, and CM had been in
We're on the third floor, I think.
Third floor.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I'm sure when he looked at this script, he saw there weren't any major roles for CM, but he wanted his pal in the flick. So actually he has a great role. I guess we're trying not to do too many spoilers, but he just shows up briefly, so you don't want to build expectations, but it's kind of a treat, and it's towards the end, and so there he is. And that's a scene I did enjoy. It's also cut down, but we had some fun doing that.
I can imagine that this whole scene looked hilariously fun, and I could definitely see you guys cutting up there for sure. I have one more question before I pass it on to Chris. I have to ask you, I'm seeing this room behind you, and we have a live chat there in the YouTube, and I know they're dying to know about some of the horror memorabilia behind you there. It looks like you've got some horror things there, and I know some of the group there in the chat is wanting to know what's back there. I want to know what's back there.
Actually,
What's back there?
that's a crew gift from Your Next, so anybody who knows
Oh yes, I love that movie.
will recognize that. I also just have a bunch of great.
Oh, cool. Look at that.
That is awesome.
I'm just like a dude who, to be honest, I had this deadline this weekend, and I decided, you know, I have to work on my shelf instead. So I just recently put this together. I just, you know, buy this shit. I know they're probably made with slave labor, these little toys, but I love it. And it goes on and on. My room is filled with and
Wow.
I don't buy these. A lot of them are just gifts I get over the years. Sometimes I'll get a few items. I just bought this silly thing. Oh, you gotta have your King Kong.
I love it. That's awesome.
That's so rad.
I love it.
It's all kind of goofy, and they're inspiring. This guy is always by my side when I'm
Yes.
writing. So whatever, old school.
I
grew up
love
on
it.
models, monster models, and that whole scene. It's very cliche. It's actually fascinating. It's just a cultural thing. If you were born in the '60s, you bought famous monsters of Finland, and then even Fangoria seemed like later in the game. It was really famous monsters, creepy and eerie, and then you bought the Aurora monster models, and then you watched the TV, and that's how you became a kid of this generation. And I still am trying to capture that by making these modern versions of the old movies, like my film Depraved, my film Habit. And in a way, I'll just fall into history because the kids don't know what I'm referencing, but it's important to me, not just to reference movies, but it made such a deep impression on me. And maybe I see Mr. Zisi is nodding. If you're of my generation and you cared about horror, you know what I'm talking about.
Absolutely. And you mentioned Habit, which I have not seen, and aim to see because it definitely seems like a different twist on the vampire genre. I have not seen it, so I don't know if I know what I'm talking about, but I did read a little bit about it, and I am absolutely fascinated. I love your twist and take on things. It's very fascinating indeed.
Well,
And
you have to watch Habit, and also,
I have to.
I don't wear pants in that movie very often. So.
Well, that I'm for sure then, because I'm all for the no pants deal. Everybody knows now. So whether they wanted to or not.
Well, I'll be back on if you guys watch Habit. We'll have the old timers club.
Yes, Habit looks excellent, and I cannot recommend that enough. Like I said, I enjoyed the movie. You, Barbara Crampton, the whole cast was fantastic, and this movie's a blast, guys. Check it out on Shudder. And I'm gonna pass. I enjoyed talking to you, Larry. I love you to death. I don't want to hog up the mic like Ken says. I'm gonna pass you over to Chris the Creature Zisi.
Hey, Larry, it is so nice to have a contemporary here. I too was born in the '60s.
Yeah.
I got to say, though, that we might have been born in the early 60s, but we are getting better looking every year. I've been watching you on screen.
I got to say, even the glasses, I don't usually wear them, out and about. But when I'm on the Zoom, I kind of prefer it because I can actually see.
That's you.
And it just looks so sophisticated. It looks like I have deep thoughts at night. Hey.
Yeah, the glasses will do that. See? Hey, I watched this movie, loved it. And I want to talk about you and Barbara in just a second. But I got to say, when I saw the rats eat this Mr. Lowe guy, I said to myself, that's the second time I've seen a Larry Fessenden movie where the rats beset somebody. Mulberry Street is ordered up there. I don't know if anybody remembers that movie, but I loved it. Mulberry Street. I think it was the tenement that's taken over by rats.
Absolutely, man. That was the plague in that movie. It's a great film. I recommend it to everybody. Mulberry Street. Especially if you have happened to see Stakeland, or for that matter, Sweet Tooth on Netflix. It's the same director. Mulberry Street is a really scrappy, great apocalyptic film. And you're right, it's rats that are doing the damage in that.
I didn't know who we were talking to. Ken said, hey, we're doing Jacob's wife, and we'll be doing an interview. So I didn't know if you were coming on or Barbara was coming on. So I crossed off the first question about the rubber BDSM suit from Beyond. And but as far as I'm always fascinated by powerful characters going through a deep transition through a movie. Now, Barbara's is easy. She's going from a dissatisfied wife of maybe 56, 57, 58 years old to a vampire who's a bit risque and looking to start having some fun. That's easy. But I thought the most interesting transition was Jacob, because we get a good view of who he is. He delivers that sermon, and he delivers it every year. His parishioners have heard it probably a dozen times, and no doubt he believes it. He's a true believer. Now, his interpretation of it, it might be a little different from his very unsatisfied wife, Anne. And then when the you know what hits the fan and he walks in and sees the corpse on the floor and her sucking the blood off the floor, his first reaction is the Jacob at the beginning of the movie. Horror, this is not it. How dare you? We're done. And then it's almost like that sermon hits him. And he realizes, okay, she's my wife. I've got to protect her. I've got to love her. I don't know how I'm going to do that, but I got to think about that. And Jacob goes through a transition himself from a milquetoast, wimpy, very safe, very caring pastor to a very aggressive, loving husband. And he doesn't know how that real love is going to manifest itself. It's kind of new to him. And maybe even into a monster hunter, because the first stake through the heart comes from Pastor Jacob. It had to be kind of satisfying to you to nurse this old milquetoasty, boring guy along to that almost a Van Helsing character.
Yeah. Well, what's satisfying is hearing your interpretation, and there's so much love thrown to Barbara because I think it is a wonderful performance, and it's appropriate and fun that a horror movie can celebrate her transition out of oppression, so to speak. But I felt important to show Jacob's humanity and his journey, and there were times I think when I played it a little more seriously than even the crew or than Travis imagined, where I'm breaking down, and because that what I like is finding my way into the character and being true to his journey. So I appreciate your summary of what he goes through, and it's funny. There's always chatter about a sequel, but I like that I become a vampire hunter, which would only be interesting if she was my partner. So there you go, man. We might have just hit on something. But anyway, I thank you for noticing Jacob, because I think that he's, the side character, but he does have nuance. I like the scene, maybe this is a spoiler, but where they're smoking pot and they're sort of reconnecting. And, in a way, he's becoming woke on screen, and that's sort of a fun thing, the idea of a pastor who's trying to find his sensitivity. So whatever, there was a lot of fun, different kinds of scenes like that to do.
That sets up one of the most fascinating final shots of horror movie history, and I won't spoil it, but I remember saying this needs to be a miniseries, and Jacob's sermons are going to get much more colorful.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, exactly. Well, it is. Oh, you guys were asking. Another scene they cut down is when I come out of the church and the punks are hanging out around my car smoking pot, and it's one of those things. It just had a few more lines, and I just loved it because I was such a hard ass, but sort of intolerant. But once again, when you play a character, you have to find the righteousness. And if you're a preacher, you got to believe in something. So I felt like I had this great moral outrage that they weren't concerned that one of our neighbors was gone missing. So I don't know. There were just little scenes like that you do as an actor, and you're like, I'm having fun. And then obviously the editing team comes in and they goes, okay, well, we get the gist. We'll move through this quickly. But those are the funny little bits. When you make a movie, you spend a whole half day on that scene, and it's in the movie for a minute and a half. Right. It's a funny life.
I don't know if you've gotten a lot of questions about the brushing the teeth scene. It probably wasn't intended to be the most talked about scene in Jacob's wife, but you're brushing the teeth, and she gives you this look. And this is before I think she's been bitten. And the look says all you need to know about Anne. And I'm wondering if, you get home from work every day, if your wife looks at you and says, oh, so are you going to love me like Christ loved the church? Or does she shoot you a look like that, and all of a sudden you're cognizant of it? Are you all of a sudden hyper thinking about, are you really loving your wife like you should?
It's somewhere in between. Life is not as beautiful as it is in the movies. But some of that stuff is a little campy, but I think that's what flavor Travis brought to the movie, which I think most people really enjoy. And I'm always happy to go there. You don't want to be overstating unless that's what the job requires. So I'm game for anything, and being grotesque isn't that hard for me.
Well, Larry, it was a thrill. I can't wait to have you back for Habit. And I'm going to pass it on to Omar because I could talk your ear off all night.
All right, Chris, enjoy that. And I love your goats. I don't know what's going on there, but it's exciting.
That's all Ken's doing. Pleasure to have you here, Larry. I also, like everybody else, love the movie. I think I was the first to see it, and I told Ken, hey, we have to have someone on. He's like, Larry was on before. Oh, well, we got to bring him back on for this movie because this movie is awesome. So my first question is and a couple of questions just based off what you've said so far. You do spend some time in this movie having some moments of dialogue, but you do get physical a lot. What do you like doing more? And I know obviously Barbara gets the most mess here, but there are some moments for you too. Do you like doing that, or do you like just the straight dialogue moments?
Oh no, I hate dialogue. I hate memorizing lines. It's why I don't like to act. But I love the physical work, and I think you can do a lot. Both little bits of comedy, but yeah, physical acting is maybe my favorite. So thanks for noticing. I mean, I'm not sure what you're referencing, but there is, I love the idea of an actor having a sense memory, meaning physical memory. And it's an important trick in acting because as a film actor, you can repeat your action so that it's better for the editor. And not every actor does it or cares. It's not the key to acting, but it's a fun thing. And I like to work that way, where you kind of remember what you've done. So it's all to say that acting is also a dance, how you get down the stairs, when you do the turn. So it's a nice question because the physical acting is important. And to Barbara's credit, I think one of the favorite scenes in the movie is when she's dancing with the furniture. So there you have her doing her turn with physical acting. So that's really what makes stuff fun.
I was kind of referencing some of the scenes where you end up involved face to face with the vampires, but I didn't want to put too much spoiler out there, so I just want to be careful that.
Well, that's also because you're building the fantasy, and of course, I think we're all sort of vaguely referencing the end. I get a little cheeky with some of the vampires, and that's a blast. I can tell you, it was really, really cold out in Mississippi in February, and so we were all suffering, but good suffering in that scene that night.
So I'm kind of curious. You mentioned knowing Travis as a producer, and you mentioned that you do a lot of work teaching filmmaking and so forth. How hard is it when you're on set being a director at heart to be an actor and not to maybe cross the line of maybe give suggestions or step over the boundary there? Maybe I don't know how receptive Travis was to yourself helping out, or he just wanted to do it on his own. How awkward is that? Is that a place to be?
It's not awkward because your main agenda is to help make the movie, and so you definitely don't want to interfere or become a problem. But you do know, or at least I know the process. I know everything from what the sound guy's going through, and I just have great empathy for all the roles, especially the roles of the people who aren't celebrated once the movie's over. And they're all contributing so much, especially when they're good at their job. The way they put the mic on you, the way they greet you in the morning and they make you feel comfortable and everything's quick and easy. And then that you're being taken care of by the sound guy or whoever. So with Travis, I just wanted to be supportive. Every now and again, you're absolutely right. I get a little bossy. I say, well, man, we could do the shot from here and then we wouldn't need to go. But I usually don't say that. The one thing I did is on day one when I was preaching, his cameraman wanted a sort of a side angle. And I could tell Travis wanted this very symmetrical shot, classic, if you will. And he was having a little trouble talking to his cameraman and sort of putting his idea out there. And I said to Travis, hey man, what would Kubrick do? Meaning Kubrick would have done the centered shot. And Travis was so sort of freed by that he gave me a T-shirt that said, what would Stanley do? So what I'm saying is that I try to give support now and again and play the old salt. But you don't want to be a pain in the ass and man spread all over everybody's business. So it's only when it can be helpful.
Definitely. A final kind of question here is, you know, you showed us your wonderful background there and talked about being a long time horror fan and so forth. Kind of curious, where you, as a filmmaker, where you see kind of horror going, and also as a filmmaker, where you see it going, because we're seeing obviously films still in theaters for those of us that can get there, but then a lot more of this streaming service, like Jacob's wife now being on Shudder. Does that kind of change your role in filmmaking and your thought process, or are you just like, hey, I'm putting it out of the theater and if it ends up in streaming, whatever?
I think it's a terrible idea to change your framing or your thinking based on where it's going to land. I mean, I have a young kid, well, he's 21 now, but he saw a lot of classics on TV. One thing you can hope for is that a lot of the kids who call themselves cinephiles in this generation probably have a big TV and they might have a sound system. And so they're having some version of a film experience. I don't want to get in the trap, although I'm deeply in the trap of being like an old man saying, you know, oh, it's just so terrible. You know, streaming is the end of the world. I mean, I still buy DVDs of the movies I care about. And I'm always like to my kid, well, let's play Terminator. You want to watch Terminator? I have the Blu-ray right here. And he's already ordered it off of the fucking streaming service. So he's like, Daddy, it's in 4K. Yours is, you know, an old DVD or whatever. I'm just like, ah. But it's important not to get too tied up in that. The bottom line is I think you want to think in terms of the big screen, because that opens up your frames. I mean, you want to watch, look, I assume Dune, whatever, if people are excited about that movie, it's going to have wide shots. You know, the thing that would be terrible is if we start framing our shots so they play on a telephone. That I find, that is the end of cinema, and I will not tolerate it. And I'm not going to get all upset, because if the kids are watching TikTok and they're not watching feature films, I can't save them. They should deal with global warming. They got a lot of problems. They got the Delta, they got COVID. The death of cinema is just part of the wrong stuff happening. So, you know, all I'm trying to say, sorry I'm rambling, but a lot of the world is really in a dire place. Cinema is in an okay place. There's a lot of great personal horror films being made, or thoughtful horror movies. Actually, it's really not a bad time for indie horror. I don't know, what is this film, The Dark House, or, you know, I don't know, is it any good? I don't know, but there's just stuff being made. People are trying. There's Shudder. I'm rambling. I'm conflicted, but I hope you get my point. It's both. The world is in a terrible place. We all should be focused on that. We should be fixing that, and along the way, we should care about movies and cinema and pacing and surprises in our content. I'm using that word facetiously. I mean, all art content is part of the problem. But let's make art, let's make horror, let's wake people up. Horror has to be vital. It's not a commodity. We're not selling, you know, candy. It should be shocking and engage you and make you uncomfortable and realize you need to change the world. You're part of the problem. That's what horror always was. What Texas Chainsaw Massacre? That's a discussion of the hippies versus the meat packers and, you know, and everything going wrong. Night of the Living Dead, the greatest parable about the 60s, you know, with the black character being besieged, Alien, about sickness and, you know, blah, 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 Dracula, Frankenstein, all great stories that are talking about mythology and the meaning of life. That's what horror is supposed to do.
You're just channeling your inner Jacob there and giving us a nice speech there.
Yes. I got my Bible here somewhere.
No, I appreciate it. I appreciate your knowledge and where you're coming from. You know, because we talk about it all the time. You know, are we changing? Are we not? There we go.
Yes. Children, let me speak further. And so, no, I thank you for that. And I do feel that horror and the arts need to matter. We're not just trying to sell shoes here, although there's nothing wrong with shoes, of course.
Or pants. Some of us don't wear pants.
Well,
so
pants,
okay.
apparently we have a little indifference to pants, but that's a whole other conversation.
That's obviously a good place to end it. So I'm going to throw it to Ken so he can have some real fun now. Thank you, Larry.
Yeah. Real quick before we jump into the Deathly 13, I just want to shout out the chat room there. John Grant, as always, we missed you, my friend. Welcome back. Newcomer Jennifer Goldberg. How you doing, Jen? Luke. Who else is here? We've got Jamie. For HorrO, you're in there. Muse, you're in there. Luna, of course. Anyway, the unusual suspects there in the chat. Welcome. Anyway, this is one of my favorite parts of our entire podcast show. We do the Deathly 13, where we like to put our guests through 13 random trivia questions. So, Larry, last time you came on, you did really well. I think you actually got them all right. But this time you get more help too, because we have some new rules. You can ask myself, Chris, or HorrO for help if you need it, which I don't think you will. You can postpone a question, or you can ask for multiple choice. We also have a new feature where you can ask the chat room if they know the question or the answer to the question. Anyway, Muse, go ahead and take it away.
All right. So in keeping with the vibe of this, well, there are no questions about no pants, so it's not the total vibe. But I decided to go all vampire with the theme for the trivia. So this is all going to be focusing on vampire movies and things like that. So everybody get ready. So I'm going to start you off. Are you ready, Larry? Do you have any questions?
No, just what I always say. I'm not a trivia buff. I'm not even a cinephile, but anyway, we'll try.
It's all in. We're all here to have fun, and I figure we'll get some. We'll have a lot of fun with it, and there's lots of help here if you get stumped. So definitely, never fear. Never. I know you ain't worried about it anyway, Larry. You're like me. You're just here to have fun, for sure. All right. So the first question is focusing on Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula from 1992, I believe it is. Maybe I might have already gotten that wrong. But I was going to ask you, who plays the lead character of Dracula in Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula? Bram Stoker.
The truth is, it's actually one of my favorite movies, and it is flawed, but that's almost part of its charm. And of course, that's Gary Oldman as Dracula. And when he got the role, I thought, this is bananas. What the fuck? Sorry, I can't remember where.
That's okay. I dropped about 5 F-bombs earlier.
Yeah, but it's actually the most gorgeous performance, and one of my favorite movies of all time, really, even though, as I say, it's got some flaws. There's such beauty to it. The music is incredible, and his performance, and all the different versions of Dracula, the old Dracula being the best. So
yeah, I agree. There's so many good ones, but I will always have, my heart will always belong to Bela Lugosi for sure.
Oh, well, of course that's true, and there have been many others, but
yes.
I love that version.
Well, it's really
with Keanu Reeves, though. I mean, oh my God.
I am a big Keanu fan, so I mean, I'm not even going to pretend that I didn't love him in that. But I did want Gary Oldman and Winona Ryder to end up together. I one of the few times I was rooting against Keanu in that one. Right. I was like, no, don't let them get together, which is really strange. But and another strange thing is I really came up with that question, Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula, off the cuff, because I was kind of stumped as to how to start things. And so it's really kind of like perfect that it worked out that way. I had no idea it was one of your favorites. So it's just meant to be, I guess. All right. Question 2 is a true or false, and it centers on the film Fright Night from 1985. True or false? Fright Night was the first vampire film to spend $1 million on special effects?
Well, that's interesting. I'll just say true, because what a random question if it's not true. But well, really, $1 million? I don't know. That seems absurd. But
It's actually, I don't know how true it is, but according to the interwebs, it is true. And I was like, I mean, it's a fantastic film, but I had no idea on that either, but it is true. So that is correct. You got that one
that's
right.
sweet. Remember, they have the werewolf too. I love that little dude who went
Yes.
on to
Oh,
be
right,
a gay
right.
porn star. Little known fact.
Yes, another actual interesting piece of trivia for sure. All right, question 3. Which in the movie Dusk Till Dawn, which was not one of the names of the people that battled the creatures in Dusk Till Dawn? Was it Seth, Sex Machine, or Death? I cracked up with this one.
Well, I don't know. Death.
Yeah, Death.
It was that.
The odd one out. He was not there that time. Wrong
Sex
movie.
Machine was absolutely there.
Yes, Sex Machine was on the scene for sure. All right. Question 4. In the movie Dracula from 1931, what does the innkeeper's wife give to Renfield, telling him to wear this for your mother's sake?
Oh, that's sweet. I mean, actually, I don't remember, but I'll say it's a cross, a crucifix.
Yes, it is a crucifix. Yes, always first instinct. Never doubt it.
Absolutely. And what a wonderful, when I was a kid, that movie seemed more boring than Frankenstein or Wolfman, but it's fun to revisit and realize how iconic it is. It's still, you can feel that it was a stage play, but the stuff in the castle, which is true of every Dracula movie, is always the best part. It's the best part of the book too.
Yes, absolutely. One of my favorites for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Question 5 is true or false. True or false. In The Lost Boys from 1987, we never actually find out how Star becomes a vampire. She's the really beautiful brunette with the beautiful curly long hair. Is that true or false that we never actually find out how she becomes a vampire?
I'm going to say true with just a cloudy memory of it.
It is true. We never actually find. We assume that she's turned by Kiefer Sutherland's character, but we don't really know for sure. We don't know if it's the lead vampire guy, because it turns out to not be Kiefer Sutherland. Spoiler alert. If you've not seen that movie, that's just unfortunate.
Shame on you. Yeah, shame
It's on you.
Right.
Right.
But
right.
this is the charm of narrative, is implications and assumptions, and then you realize that's funny. Actually, they never made that clear, and then you realize, but I still got that part of the story. Yeah, it's a fun thing to be thinking about when you're writing your own script. You realize I don't have to have everything laid out.
Absolutely. 100%. All right. So this one, Chris will love this one. If you do get stumped, this is definitely up his alley. Hint, hint. In the movie Underworld, what is the name of Kate Beckinsale's character?
Oh, I'll never know that. Chris, help me out.
Wait,
Celine, that is right. All right. I was thinking this is going to be Chris.
I have a
coming out of the seat.
story from my days in the FBI that you guys would not believe.
Oh my goodness.
Are we
I
gonna
almost want to
hear it?
stop to hear. Yeah, I want to hear it now. No. Okay. Well, he's just gonna, it's a cliffhanger. He's just
But
gonna leave us hanging.
this proves my point about narrative. So from now, we'll always have our own version of Chris's whatever the hell he's implied. I've already got my whole movie in my mind, and that's the beauty. So
Someday,
the power of suggestion.
when we're not on the air and we're just around having a brewski, I will tell you an amazing story.
Yes.
Wait.
I want to be a fly on the wall there, because I'd like to hear it myself. Okay.
When Chris comes to visit me in New York, I'm gonna email Larry. We're gonna have a beer together.
Absolutely. I don't want to be a fly on the wall. I want to be a drinker at the bar. So
Yeah, no
There you
doubt.
go.
All right, question 7. Another true or false question. A true or false, the movie Near Dark from 1987 also almost had a sequel called First Light.
I believe that's true, but yeah, is that true?
It is true. And it was actually supposed to, I guess, be a prequel about how they all kind of came together, you know, in Near Dark, they're already together. You don't know how it all happened. And it's a prequel. I think it's actually taking place. I don't, it never happened, but there's a lot of talk about it. And I think it was supposed to take place in the Civil War. Henriksen's character actually references fighting for the South, I believe.
Right.
And and then he says the iconic line, "We lost." So we kind of get the feeling he's been dead for quite a while. So about
That's
how old
very
he is.
cool.
Yes. Great movie. I would have loved to see a sequel or a prequel, I guess, rather, to that, but it never happened, sadly. So who knows, maybe down the road. I can't see them doing it now. I couldn't imagine not having the cast intact there to play everybody's role. Without Bill Paxton, just seems like there would be such a big piece missing. But
Yeah.
it seems like it would have been a fantastic idea at the time. All right, question 8.
These things don't happen, and then so many
Yeah,
bad things do happen. Well,
exactly. Definitely. Question 8, another true or false. Stephen King got the idea for Salem's Lot while teaching Dracula to a high school English class. He wondered what it would be like to kind of put vampires into modern times. Is that true or false?
I'm going to say that's true because I want it to be true.
That is true. That is true. That I would have loved to be sitting into that class. That would have been extremely interesting.
Well, and you know, I have to, as if I have anything to do with Stephen King, but you know, this is also my interest, is taking the classics and putting them in modern settings. So I love that that's a story, and I think that's a good story to repeat, because the kids should know that these classics have vitality in the modern setting. You know, there is, you know, on the one hand, we all say we hate remakes, but actually remakes of sort of classic themes are really fun because we realize the relevance and how they go through history. You know, Greek myths can be played out again. Prometheus is the story of stealing fire. Well, that's what Frankenstein is, and on it goes. So cool.
Absolutely. And, you know, like you said, everybody has what they feel is relevant. And when you put it in the modern times, there's so many things you can do with it, you know, because, you know, depending on what decade you have it in and what's going on, it's really interesting to get the take on like a different decade or time frame. Yeah. All right. I think we're in question 9, might be 10. I don't know. I was
you're a 9. You're a 9.
All right. I had it right. All right. All right. So, all right. We're going to kind of veer away from some vampire. Well, no, this is still a vampire question. What actress who played in Cape Fear and Natural Born Killers also fought vampires in Dusk Till Dawn?
I'm trying to wrap my brain around those titles.
You have some lifelines as well.
You can ask me, Omar, multiple choice, or the chat room for help.
Well, I would like to involve you guys, but I could do multiple choice. I'm just trying to think who's in Cape Fear. I mean, it's not.
Also, Natural Born Killers. She was.
Oh, what's her name? Juliette Lewis.
Yes.
There you go.
Yeah. Juliette Lewis.
I those titles were literally triggering my brain cells because they're all such seminal movies, and I was like, what is happening? Anyway, yeah, there you are. Sorry I didn't involve you guys, but I should know.
No, you're on fire, man.
You're
9 for 9 right now. You got 4 more left.
Larry's killing it. I'm always here to trigger the brain cells, so so that's what I'm here
just
for.
Waking up. What time is it?
I'm here to keep you on
Better
your
put your
toes.
pants on. Yeah, better put your pants on.
That was enough of a trigger for everybody.
I
I
need a
think.
refill. That's what it is.
Right.
All right, let's do it.
All right. Question 10. Going back to Francis Ford Coppola's Bram Stoker Dracula, who played the character of Mina in that movie?
Well, Cilio, what's her name? She's also Winona, baby. Winona Ryder.
Winona forever, for sure. Winona Ryder. Absolutely. All right.
So lovely, but she's not. She had a great period of really great roles, but she's best in Edward Scissorhands.
Okay.
She's fantastic for sure. All right, question 11. This is going back a ways and to a lesser known vampire film. The 1978 film Martin was directed by a legendary horror director better known for his zombies. His zombie films. Who am I speaking of?
It's Romero's best film.
Yes.
Ooh.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, he's not off track on that. If you've not seen Martin from 1978, is a really interesting take on vampire films as well. And one I would highly urge people to see if you have not seen that by Romero.
Yeah, it's a wonderful movie. And well, I mean, my favorite is Night of the Living Dead, but Martin is the quick second, and it's just a wonderful, fascinating, great performance as well. Anyway, highly recommend it.
Absolutely. It's one of those films I saw just recently, and I cannot recommend it enough. Definitely one I feel ashamed for not seeing sooner.
It's true, but it's good you got to it, and now you guys who are listening should check it out. The scene in the train is brutal, and it's just what a striking movie. Very cool.
Absolutely. All right, question 12. All right, I always throw in a movie quote here, and I'm gonna recite a quote from a very well-known vampire film, one of Ken's favorites. There's a hint already. And when I finish, I'm going to ask you which film I'm speaking of. All right. Let's see if I can't even get into character because this character is so badass. So I'm just going to do a really weak interpretation of it, probably. All right. You better wake up. The world you live in is just a sugar-coated topping. There is another world beneath it, the real world. And if you want to survive it, you better learn to pull the trigger.
All right. Ken, you get to answer.
I'm dying because
It's coming out of his
it was so bad.
Shut up. I know. I didn't even I know, like I said, how can you even get into character for such a badass character? He's so great.
Oh gosh, the best vampire slayer of them all, Blade.
Blade, yes, from
Yes.
1988, Wesley Snipes, yes.
So
Absolutely.
you're 12 for 12 right now. 13, question 13, the last one is worth 2 points. So you can go 14 for 13 if you get this one right.
All right, good. But I just want to languish for a minute. Ken, do you have a better version of Blade?
Oh, mine was bad.
I can't recite off the top of my head, but I'm laughing so hard that my face is smiling right now. Yeah, but I'll owe it to you, okay?
All
But
right.
no, I just, you know what? I like to pick on Muse so bad.
He does.
And
He's
it's a lot
ruthless.
of love.
Yes,
The world's
always.
just a
for sure.
sugar-coated topping.
Yes, there you go. Sugar-coated topping. Yes.
You gotta learn to pull the trigger.
There it is. Yeah.
I think that's a little closer. But anyway, that was fun to bring up
Yeah.
Blade for sure.
Yes. Excellent film. All right. Last one is true or false.
Also, can I just say, when I was a kid, Blade was a Marvel comic. No one knows that Marvel, while they were diddling around with all these superheroes, was also making the best horror comics in the 70s. Werewolf by Night, The Monster of Frankenstein, and The Tomb of Dracula,
Yeah, they
which
did the Dracula
had
thing.
the character of Blade. And here is Werewolf by Night.
Oh, that is
My
awesome.
God, that's
There.
amazing. Wow. So listeners on the podcast, Larry just has
I
he's
know. I've
busting
got
out the comics.
Dracula.
And he's bending them up. I'm kind of cringing here.
I
Don't
don't
bend
know.
your
Getting
comics.
triggered.
Yeah.
That's the best shit out there.
That is.
Wow. That's
that is
amazing.
cool.
All right. Question 13. We're 2 points.
All right, true or false? True or false? Stan Lee originally had a cameo in Blade, but it was cut. It's a scene where he played one of the cops that comes into the blood club during the aftermath. Is that true or false? That Stan Lee was actually supposed to have a cameo in Blade, but it was cut.
Oh, without a doubt.
Without a doubt, he was, and I cannot believe, and shame on them for cutting it. What? How do you cut out Stan Lee? No,
Yeah.
I don't understand what happened there. I would like to know the backstory on that, but
Missed opportunity there for sure.
Yes,
Well,
that would
listen,
have been excellent.
Larry, you killed it, man. You did awesome again. 14 for 30. I don't think we've ever had a returning guest come back and do back-to-back perfect scores. Anyway, Larry, thank you so much. Before we let you go, we got to find out what's on deck for you. What are you working on, and where can we find you on social media?
I'm at Glass Eye Picks. I don't know, .com is my website. And then I think at Glass Eye Picks, that's GlassEyepix. And that's a Twitter handle and Instagram and stuff like that. I got a lot of stuff coming up. I never talk about the movies I hope to make because you never know whether it's going to happen. But I am shooting a picture starting in October, and then I'll finish in March. I'm acting in a lot of stuff right now, and I've got a movie coming out. It's playing at Fright Fest, just a short part of an anthology on Friday. And then, yeah, so I don't know, a lot of stuff. Check out Glass Eye Picks. We're very eclectic. We make horror primarily. That's where my heart is. I think I've made that clear, but I love cinema and try to be involved in different levels of things, producing, directing, and acting. So I'll see you guys at the movies.
So, Larry, thank you so much. Listeners, you got to check out Jacob's Wife. It is streaming on Shudder right now. It is an awesome film. Well done, Larry, and congratulations to you. And we can't wait to get you back, man. Maybe you'll be the 3-time guest for our show. Anyway, till next time, keep it scary. Take care, Larry. We'll see you around.
Larry's a pleasure.
All right.
Bye,
Night,
guys.
Larry. You're awesome.
Hey, Larry, take care, man. We'll see you around.
Okay, thanks a lot, guys.
Hey guys, I need to run.
All right, sounds good, Chris.
I will talk to you soon.
All right. Night, Chris.
Have a good interview.
Thank you.
Took a month
What?
off and he became famous.
Yeah, what an awesome interview. Oh my goodness. I love Larry. Larry's such an awesome guy. He did awesome on the Deathly 13. Anyway, Chris sends his best wishes to everybody. He had to jump. He, as HorrO said, he's getting popular and he's got his interviews to do for his website. You can find it at Chris Zisi's Emporium for B Movies. Very cool stuff. Some very obscure movies you can find on there. His reviews are awesome. Anyway, let's bring it on home. It is, I'm so happy to be back. I just want to say shout out to you guys listening on the show, to the unusual suspects in the chat room. And Larry, thank you so much for coming on, man. Without hesitation, man, I knew, Jacob's Wife came out and I knew, like, Larry will come on, and he did, and he delivered just an awesome interview as always. Anyway, Muse, what do you got for us tonight?
Well, no really formal shout outs. Just want to say, kind of like in reference to Chris jumping off there, I'm going to be in keeping with the vampire theme. I'm going to check out one of Chris's favorites, Count Yorga. Which is one of those obscure vampire films you guys got to see. It's a really great one from the 70s. I've been all about 70s horror lately. So I'm going to say shout out to 1970s horror and to the chat. We missed you guys, like Ken said. Everybody in the chat. I don't want to miss anybody. So I'm just saying we love everybody there in the chat. There's some new folks in the chat as well. So Jennifer Goldberg, definitely. We're so glad that you joined us, and hope you. She said she's a new fan, and we're so excited about that. And we love having new folks there. And that's it for me this week. Jamie's, thinks he's a star over here now because he did a little review last week. So I've been trying to keep him in line. So that's about it.
That's why we took a break. We took a break so he can soak it in, Yeah.
Yeah, he's just divaing out over here. I don't know, but yeah.
We had that same problem with Dexter over there at Promote Horror. So we had to just bring it down a notch, guys. Bring it down a notch.
Right.
Anyway, HorrO, what do you got for us this week?
Oh, man, I gotta give Dexter a shot here. Well, Chris is off being famous. I'll give a shout out to myself as well. Last week I celebrated 12 years of HorrO's Gory Reviews, 10 years of Promote Horror. I put a little video out on on both the YouTube channel for both of them, basically talking about, starting off, and I've talked about it here on the show, talked about having a site, having a blog, and the sacrifice of doing it and then doing it for so long, and maybe a tip here or there. And I just want to say to everybody out there, I mean, we're content creators here. We're doing it here as well. But it is sacrifice you do put into it. And it's a lot of work. It's a lot of fun. And it's been a long time. And I also talk a little bit about the future in there too. So if you guys get a chance, I ramble on just like I rambled here. I ramble on for quite a while there. But I think if you guys are starting anything of creating content out there, like a podcast, a blog, website, or whatever, maybe there's something there for you. I never imagined I'd be here this long and doing this long. But I just wanted to mention it here as well, because now you guys are a part of it. All 2 of you, 3 of you, 4 of you, however, if Casey's here, you guys are a part of it now, part of my universe, part of those years. And this is a whole part of the experience. So I just want to make sure to mention it here. And thank you guys for being on this journey with me. It's been crazy. And then talking to someone like Larry and seeing his background and what he has to say about horror it's always interesting. So yeah, check that out if you're interested. And it's been a pleasure to have you guys on this journey with me.
I couldn't say it better myself. It's surreal, that Muse and I started this, and then, just meeting everybody. We talk about it all the time, but I consider you guys some of my dearest friends. And then to talk about horror movies, with people that know what they're talking about, and we're so unbiased in our own way. And, it's a great atmosphere. Then we meet new people like on the chat and stuff like that reach out to us and support us, and we love it. Anyway, I am very hungry, so I am going to end the show. But everybody have a good night. Thank you for supporting us as always. Follow us on social media at Scary Things Pod on Twitter, or you can just type into Google's and where the scary things are. Check out our website. Shout out to Casey. We miss you. And till next time, my friends, keep it scary.